words, and going back to the same thing, because, when we talk about bankruptcy, sometimes I feel like my clients, it's kind of like an escape situation. But going back to like a process that we have a 4-phase process. The last phase of the program is the education aspect of it. The goal or intent, and again, too, for everyone watching this, it's not for the purposes of us getting into a situation and then kind of like, pressing the reset button. And you know what, let's do a chapter 7 and forget about all that. Because the objective here is, first off, not to get to that situation, to be responsible, because obviously we're adults. We have certain obligations, and we have to be aware that these responsibilities that we have as individuals or consumers, that these creditors are giving us, or we're eligible for certain credits, we have to be responsible in managing these things. So it's not something that, in a sense, which is what you're saying, you're going to go through an extensive questionnaire, because we need to make sure that it's just not something that all of a sudden we reach a certain amount of debt and it's like, okay, let me do it for bankruptcy. No, because if you have certain assets, if you have some savings, if you have a 401k, if you have an investment account, you might not be eligible, in other words, for what you want, because those things might be taken into consideration to satisfy some of these obligations. Is that correct?
Yes, and actually, to that point, some people look at bankruptcy like a magic bullet, like a cure-all, a panacea. Have you seen My 600-Pound Life? Have you ever seen that show?
Yeah.
You seen Dr. Now?
Yeah.
Yeah. They always come in that office and they're always like, why don't I get my surgery now? I'm like 800 pounds and the surgery makes me not 800 pounds, but it doesn't fix what's wrong. Like, it's very analogous to it. And I hate to, say that debtors may be like 800-pound people, but in a sense, the issues that debtors face, sometimes largely it is circumstantial, like someone's going through a really hard time, particularly relevant now in the COVID-19 crisis. People are losing their jobs, they're losing their livelihoods. Totally valid, fair thing to happen. But there are some people who, if you would manage your money a little better, you wouldn't be in that circumstance. And bankruptcy will not help you get out of that circumstance unless you learn and you're informed and you have a better mindset about what money truly is, what debt is, and how to change your life. Bankruptcy is a start. If you're in deep enough for bankruptcy, and again, it's not anything negative, it's not to stigmatize. And at the end of the day, I want to get rid of the stigma, because companies and people of higher means, they don't have the same stigma about bankruptcy. They know their rights, and sometimes it's a strategic move for them. You need to get rid of that stigma. But if you could file for bankruptcy, it's because you need help. And if you need help, one of the things that you're required to do through the bankruptcy process, particularly as a Chapter 7 debtor, is you have to take a course, an approved course on, on finances. So you take that debtor's course, and some people don't really, take it as seriously, but it's why, I talked to, so I want to work with him in the future too, mainly because I want people to be informed to come out of this bankruptcy process better.
Absolutely.
Not just debt, not just with some discharge debt or reorganized debt, but like in a 13, I forgot to mention, is typically the plans last like 5 to 7 years. They last a lot longer, and that might have more impact on when you can start rebuilding your credit rather than a 7. So this is a separate thing. Maybe we could talk about it in a bit. But in general, I want people to come out of the bankruptcy process with a better mindset, more able to handle their finances, and ultimately for me not to have to see them again. You know, like repeat business, fine, but I don't want, I don't want to say I'll take the money, but if you want to come back to me, whatever. But I don't want to see you
in the same situation.
Again.
I hear you.
So I want to see you better and thriving, happy with a happy marriage, a good, stable life, ultimately living the real American dream.